Every minute, 5 people become infected with HIV, and every minute, a child dies because of AIDS. These facts, taken directly from Population Services International, show us the full extent of AIDS and the monster it has become. Despite the potency of this disease and how rapidly it was being spread, the general public was unaware of the severity of HIV until Mary Fisher's address to the nation. Today I will be describing to you all the message Mary Fisher intended to deliver to the nation, and then I will explain why her speech was effective in delivering this message. Most Americans at the time knew about HIV, but chose to ignore the situation. Ms. Fisher was aware her audience consisted of a large ignorant group of people and emphasized their need for awareness. She does an excellent job identifying her audience by relating to both those suffering from the disease as well as those listening. The first reported case of HIV/AIDS was in 1981. Clinicians had never seen the disease before, but since all the infected were gay, they named the disease GRADES, or Gay-Related Immunodeficiency Syndrome. AIDS case surveillance reported the highest number of new cases by date in 1993. This was only 1 year after her speech and is evidence that many people who had been living with AIDS were at the time not inspired to go and get diagnosed until after hearing Ms. Fisher's speech. Clearly, the American people were in desperate need of a wake-up call. Mary Fisher contracted the disease from her husband and since then devoted her life to helping others infected. Her speech also depicts this deliberative occasion by ensuring the people that a brighter future lies ahead. Shortly after her speech, Fisher created a support group for families affected by AIDS. Her group, the Family AIDS Network, was dedicated to informing younger men and women everywhere of education and prevention of AIDS. She later formed the Mary Fisher Care Fund. The Care Fund supported long-term practical research to help people living with HIV. Ms. Fisher has now written 5 books and is an active member on the Leadership Council of the Global Coalition on Women and AIDS. The Council's main goal, as found on their website, womenandaids.org, is to mobilize leadership and political will to influence laws, policies, programs, and funding that will give girls and women the power to prevent HIV infection. Ms. Fisher's speech is a perfect example of her devotion and successfully moved the American people to take action against HIV. Her strong use of rhetoric in her speech helped to establish herself as a strong and emotional speaker, even though many might not have known who she was. Her ethos as well as pathos were established strongly in the beginning of her speech. Ms. Fisher's story of how she herself became HIV positive not only establishes her credibility in the matter, but also invokes an emotional appeal within her audience. Her use of personal experience and examples make up a large portion of her supporting material. She actually combines the two types and uses her own personal experience as an example to others, showing that it is possible to live with AIDS, further strengthening her credibility as a speaker. The secret behind Ms. Fisher's success lies behind the language of the speech itself. Ms. Fisher uses her opening statement to evoke a reaction of attentiveness. Her statement, "I have come tonight to bring our silence to an end. I bear a message of challenge, not self-congratulation. I want your attention, not your applause," immediately lets the audience know that her topic is serious and important. Ms. Fisher's claims are also well supported throughout her speech. She uses herself as supporting evidence towards her statements. This is evident in her speech when she says, "If you believe you are safe, you are in danger. Because I was not hemophiliac, I was not at risk. Because I was not gay, I was not at risk. Because I did not inject drugs, I was not at risk." Fisher's ideas happen to be very controversial issues among some at the time. She shows us this when she states that, but despite science and research, White House meetings and congressional hearings, despite good intentions and bold initiatives, campaign slogans, and hopeful promises, it is, despite it all, the epidemic which is winning tonight. Ms. Fisher's emotions throughout the whole speech come together to portray her point that people must get involved. All these emotions are summed up into a final point in the statement, "It is our task to seek safety for our children, not in quiet denial, but in effective action." Today's discussion has been about Mary Fisher's A Whisper of AIDS speech. Her audience was ignoring the reality of HIV/AIDS, and her goal was to raise awareness. She herself was living with HIV and was dedicated to helping others like herself. Her strong use of rhetoric made her speech relatable to her audience and evoked emotions towards her cause. To sum things up tonight, Mary Fisher effectively opened the eyes of many to the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Kofi Annan, a Secretary General for the UN, once stated that the global HIV/AIDS epidemic is an unprecedented crisis that requires an unprecedented response. In particular, it requires solidarity between the healthy and the sick, between rich and poor, and above all, between richer and poorer nations. We have 30 million orphans already. How many more do we have to get to wake up? I feel this statement reflects the same message that Ms. Fisher tried so hard to instill in all of us. A message of challenge, a message of action, and most of all, a message of hope.